Hello, my name is Jack. I used to work as a security guard at a pig farm and slaughterhouse. I vividly recall my first night shift there. My boss's name was Mr. Trump, the head of security, and he warned me never to go near to that old warehouse located at the west side of the facility. He was very serious about that. I was curious to know why, but I thought it best not to ask. I didn't want anyone to think that I was nosy. My job was pretty easy. Every few hours I would just walk around the plant and survey it with the cameras and security monitors on the rest of the time. But on this particular occasion, something very odd happened. It was about midnight when the intruder alarm sounded. I didn't see anything unusual on the cameras, so I turned them off and walked outside. I wanted to check it out. So first, I began my usual security check while quietly inspecting the west side of the property. Then I finished my routine on the east side before going back to my office. Normally, I used to try to pass that old spooky warehouse as fast as I could, but this time, I felt like my guts were warning me. I felt nervous, and I paused at the front of it, moving as quietly as I could. While at the front of it, I heard the sound of some strange noises, kind of like laughter coming from inside of the warehouse. I trembled in fear as I contemplated what to do next. There was no doubt in my mind that some kind of evil, benevolent activity was about to take place. I heard sinister laughter coming from inside where the pigs were kept. They were screaming and squealing as if they were about to be tortured and killed. But I overcame my darkest fears and courageously marched into the chaos to confront the dangerous activity that was erupting inside the building where the hogs were. As silently as I could, I brushed the tall, thorny grass to the side and looked through a small gap in the door. In the dim light, I was freaked out by what I saw. A tall, fat man holding a bloody knife, the same kind that we used to slaughter the pigs. However, there weren't any pigs to be seen. Instead, I saw 3 men tied to the tables. They were screaming, but the screams I heard did not sound human at all, but more like big fat pigs, combined with the screams of a human and a pig. I was so terrified by what I saw happening before my very eyes that I was not able to stay still. I was shaking badly. Even worse, I saw that the man inside was the slaughtering man. He was not a normal man. He looked not human, with the head like a pig. I remembered being so frightened that my legs gave out and I fell to the ground. As I fell, I hit a log and it made a loud thump. I frantically got back on my feet and ran away. While running for my life, I looked back and I saw the figure of the slaughter man standing in the doorway. Running with high levels of adrenaline, I had no choice but to keep going. I jumped into a nearby sewer. It was horrible with the stench of pigs. It was so unbearable I felt sick to my stomach, but I had to endure. Seconds later, the pig-headed man had approached my hiding place. He walked clumsily, holding the knife in his hand. I held my breath, tried not to make a sound, but my heart was beating so fast that I felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. In an instant, everything went quiet. I could hear the sound of my heart beating. Thinking that the slaughter man may have decided to leave, I decided to get up and make a run for it, heading toward my duty room. There, I could call the police to report the incident. I crept quietly toward the end of the sewer. He was standing outside. I could see that he had a prosthetic leg. He must have heard me, because he leaned down and put his hand inside the sewer, trying to grab me. I was really paralyzed with fear. Luckily, he was too fat to put his big body through that small hole to reach me. I backed myself up deeper and deeper into the sewer, quietly praying that he couldn't get in there. He was angrily grunting and hitting the knife on the edge of the manhole. At that moment, I heard a gunshot and the slaughter man ran. It seemed as though I was safe, so I cautiously emerged from the sewer. Thank God. It was Mr. Trump. He suddenly pointed his gun at me. Just then, a worker ran between me and Mr. Trump, and he quickly dropped his gun. He explained that the shots were intended to scare away a thief. Once we got back to the duty room, Mr. Trump sighed as he told me a story that took place in the old warehouse about 10 years ago. There were 2 workers assaulting a disabled person. During their abusive action, a crazed pig escaped out of his cage, attacking the 2 workers. As they were searching for a secure hiding place, they climbed onto an industrial-sized meat grinder. Unfortunately, one of the 2 men slipped and fell into the hopper. As the other man tried to run, both of them were sucked in, and they died a horrible death. The police reported there were no bodies found in the meat grinder, but oddly, the only thing they found was an extra leg. There was no further news about what had happened to the disabled man or that crazed pig, and they were never seen again. Since they shut down the warehouse, many nearby residents still hear noises coming from the old warehouse, but nobody's ever been allowed in. After that incident, I quit my job. Later, I found out that there was another horrifying fact about the story Mr. Trump told me. The disabled man was actually his son.